Hey legends, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Today's guest, a very, very good friend of mine and someone I cannot wait to get into this chat with. They are a real estate agent, Adelaide Premiership player, a Channel 7 commentator, Australia's traveling nomad, as I like to say, SAS and Survivor contestant, and owner of the clothing brand Blindside, and many, many more things we'll get into. But it is a good friend, Abbey Holmes. Now, we just talked about this. The carrot cake is going to be your...
Where is my carrot cake?
There's a whole thing between us. Now, I make a mean carrot cake for those people out there. Very good. Icing, just mwah, mwah. And that's going to be my payment for you helping me out today.
And I'm very upset that it's not right here in front of us.
I've let you down.
You have.
It's a great start to this, isn't it?
But I honestly cannot give high enough praise for your carrot cake. I hate the word moist. I hate it. But your carrot cake is like the most perfect level of moistness that there could possibly be in a cake.
We've said moist twice now, 3 times. I think people are. I will say this, Matt Preston was on the podcast. I still think he didn't like it.
Did he
Same
try
carrot cake and everything. Yep, tried it. I think he wasn't as impressed. Well, it's a tough crowd to please whenever it's Matt Preston, obviously. So maybe our palate's just not as refined as the great Mr. Preston.
Yes.
I want to start this off. You've got a crazy life, and I've known you pretty well over the past few years, and the amount of stuff you do is insane. Now, I want to ask you this, like, as a kid growing up, looking at yourself now, like, could you have fathomed you being in the position you are now?
No. And I'm a big one for sliding doors moments.
I love that.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Like, you know what? If you didn't go out to this combine for this thing called AFL, you know, we wouldn't be here talking. You know what I mean? But I was a real estate agent only when 2014, 2015, selling houses up in the Territory, and just through a number of achievements in the footy world, got thrown into a completely different landscape in media, and flown down for the footy show and playing in Legends games, and just thrown in front of a camera and behind microphones on radio and that kind of thing. So to think that, over the last 10 years in particular, how much my life has changed, it really does blow my mind, and I pinch myself on a day-to-day basis, because I can honestly sit here and say to you right now that I'm living my dream. It honestly feels like I never work a day in my life, even though I'm a hustler and I grind every day. But it honestly feels like I don't work a day in my life, because I legitimately love everything that I do. Yeah,
hustler is the number one word I think of whenever I think of Abbey Holmes. And you're never not doing anything. We drove here and I said, what are you up to? And you're just like, I'm just busy. I'm just busy. And that's so you.
Do you know what? That's one of my pet peeves, is when you go, how are you? And people say busy. And it's like, I just
You're
did that.
You're actually genuinely busy though.
I just did that to you, and I'm so sorry. But I said to you, I can't believe we're already heading into round 16 of the AFL. Like, once you get into the grind of, round 1, round 2, round 3, it all just blends into one until you blink and you're at round 16. It's unbelievable. But as I said, I'm a diehard, footy lover. I love the game. I know the game. I played the game. So to think that it's my job to sit there on the sidelines and talk smack, it really is a dream.
Now, you told me earlier, before we got into this, that you consider yourself, one thing people don't really know about you is you can consider yourself, and I quote this from you because I had to question the word, a Shaza. Yeah. Shaza? Is it? Shaza. Sorry, there's an A in the, I don't know, just the Australian language. But
a Shaza.
You had to try to explain that to me. What about you makes you a Shaza?
Well, I'm just your knockabout, I don't know, gal who, I'm not much of a city girl, to be honest. Not too many people would actually know that about me. I would prefer to be, remote in an Indigenous community out in the middle of nowhere with red dirt than I would be, going shopping in downtown Melbourne or anything like that. Yeah. I think you could describe it as a little bit of a bogan, but I don't know. It's a tough one.
Bogan.
A classy bogan.
Yes.
Can we go there? Like a Shaza, or I'd say a classy bogan maybe. Let's jazz it up a little bit.
Okay, classy bogan. We will get into the NT stuff and everything else, but I want to start off, like, a lot of people know you for your commentating at the moment, obviously doing AFLW and AFL, and you're constantly on television, left, right, and center. And we'll get into the Survivor and SAS and all that kind of stuff. But the thing you doing at the moment, and the thing that's probably taking up most of your time, is commentating.
Yes.
And I want to dive into a bit of the background, because I feel like a lot of people see you and they say, oh, okay, yep, she makes comments here and there. Yes, she's in TV, but people don't understand the meticulous nature behind it and how on, you have to be on television. There's no re-records or anything else. It is pure live, so you can't screw it up, and you have to know all of your facts and make sure they're all correct.
Yeah.
Like, what all goes into, like, explain to me the start of your weekend before you get into the footy.
Live television is a pretty scary place sometimes.
Petrifying.
If you make a mistake, like, it goes to a nation, and trust me, they are bloody relentless.
Twitter, and ruthless.
People come for you if you pronounce something wrong or you get something wrong and mix in a number that's not right. They'll let you know. But yeah, you're right. Everybody kind of sees you on game day, on screen, but there is so much more that goes into it than that. We're always getting sent stats from, the champion data guys and legends, and you're always kind of just working your way through it. And as I said, watching press conferences, pre-game, post-game, I try and come at it from a little bit more of a personal point of view. So, like, it's my responsibility, and I don't take this lightly, to bring the emotion from the players into the lounge rooms of all Australians across the country. I don't want to go up to a player and just talk to them about, how many contested marks Mason Cox took and,
riveting.
Riveting. You know what I mean? I want to delve into the individual a little bit more, and I really try and bring that to the broadcast sense. But as I said, I'm a diehard footy fan, so it doesn't feel like work for me. But when you actually strip it back and you look at how many hours commentators do spend kind of nutting out and working at their craft, it's pretty unbelievable.
Do you have help kind of like on game day? Like, I feel like the behind the scenes, like before a game, you would sit there, and you've talked about this with me, is you go and watch every single game, games before, try to figure out statistical stuff about each single player. So whenever it comes up in the game, you can instantly go, bang, I've got a fact for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, in the moment of the heat of the game, is there anyone else that's kind of like helping you? Like, I think about these earpieces, right? And like, what's going on in these earpieces that no one hears? They're our biggest
secrets.
Oh yeah, it's just chaos behind it, and then you just have to be calm, collective, like someone's not screaming in your ear. That's 7 different things are going on at the same time.
Yeah. So obviously we've got our producer that talks in our ear that produces the entire game, and they've got to hit things down to the second. But we've also got some pretty very, very handy and incredible stats people. We'll always have one on with us per game. Josh K, Swamp are the 2 that we use at 7, and they are absolute gurus.
So are they just crunching numbers in the background, like just typing away?
Yep. And,
wow. Okay.
And look, we've all done our prep, so we've all got numbers in our head. But if it's, burst of the moment and you just need to know how many contested marks Mason Cox has, boom, Swamp.
That's all you do.
K,
Swamp, call up to the box. Swampy, what's the contested mark count?
Yeah, Swamp Abs. And he'll be like, yes, Abs. And I said, how many contested marks has Mason Cox got? He goes, he's got 17. I'm like,
17?
I'll give you 17.
Okay, thank you.
Take that.
Slight day.
But that's how quick they are. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they've got a computer and everything in front of them as well, but these guys are incredible minds, that they know basically every stat that there is in terms of history of the game and clubs and where they sit with certain things from a week-to-week basis. They're unbelievable. So we're very lucky to have them.
Have you ever had a moment, like we do Clanger of the Week on this podcast every single week.
Clangers.
What's like the biggest one that you've just like, either if it's personally you or it's like the production team, just like no one knows what's going on. It's just chaos like all over the joint.
Oh, well, I'll talk about one early days in just a moment, but lights out at the Gabba in round 2.
Oh my gosh. They're not even in person there, weren't they? Like they were in Melbourne.
No. So I honestly had to fill for 28 minutes and with nothing. And I remember our director at the time counting us back in from a break. And she's going 10, 9, 8, 5, 4. And I'm going, what are we talking about? And they're like, we don't know, just talk. And I'm like, welcome back to the Gabba where the lights are out. And it's like, that like the duck with the little legs swimming underneath, but then you guys just see this. That was insane. But I remember early days I was doing, I was working for Channel 7 with the VFL coverage. That's where I first kind of got my opportunity with 7. And thankfully this was only in a rehearsal and we rehearsed for a reason. But I remember them, it was Jason Bennett, Nigel Carmody talking through to me, and I knew exactly what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it and who I was talking about and that kind of thing. But they threw to me and I just went completely and utterly blank. Like I'm just looking down the barrel of the camera.
Deer headlights.
Just wanting to sink into the ground. just wanting to fall into some black hole.
Did they tell you they were alive?
Yeah.
Okay,
but then I just had nothing.
Like, it was on you.
Oh my God. So that has been. But you know what? It's these things that make you better, hopefully.
You learn from your mistakes.
You learn from your mistakes.
You makes you stronger.
Yeah. So no, there's, as I said, live television can be a pretty brutal place sometimes, but we've all had them.
Is there anything like, obviously you've worked with the likes of people like Brian Taylor, who is somewhat controversial at times, we could say. We love BT here. Is there anything that he's done that sticks out in your head that you just go, oh, wow, we're going to roll with this.
Well,
okay.
That's effectively Roaming Brian.
Roaming Brian, yeah. I was like, I feel like there's a million episodes of that.
Because you cannot produce Roaming Brian.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you're in a very happy environment where siders obviously just want a game of footy. You're with the friends, the family, the fans, supporters. So you just never know what is going to come out of the mouth of anybody that Brian gets his hands on. But that's the best thing about it. And that's why we love Roaming Brian, is that it's so authentic and real.
Does he just get unleashed?
Yes.
Or does he has no direction? He just goes, boom.
Yeah.
Here's the room.
They basically just hand over the reins to him. Yeah.
Gosh, that's talent.
It is.
That is.
And that's
insane.
what, do you know what? So BT the other day, I can't remember who had played, but it was a Friday night at the G. We were in the winning side rooms, and he said, "Abs, do you just want to go and find someone and have a chat? Like, if I need a chop out."
Abbey.
And I was like, "No." I was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean, BT? What do you mean just go and speak to someone random?"
Actually.
And I said to him afterwards, I said, I got overwhelmed. It freaked me out. I don't know how you do it. But and it's such a skill for him to be able to go up to anybody and just have a question ready, and to get some of the absolute gold that he gets out of these people. I absolutely love Roaming Brian.
I love these names because they're people I've got to know over the years, and like, it is insane some of the stuff that I see him say on television.
Yeah.
Like some of the wow-wees. All that.
Oh,
like,
boy.
Oh boy.
There's lots of old boys, in particular from our probably production truck, with the producers just going like, oh boy.
Oh boy, this is not good. Well, you mentioned your early days, obviously getting into commentating in the VFLW. So VFLW, right?
VFL, yeah.
VFL, sorry.
Yeah.
And I just feel like any advice for anyone that's going out there in the media world that wants to become someone like yourself, who's, looking to go down that path, and those initial steps are always, I feel like, the hardest.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give someone that's kind of out there wanting to do the same thing?
Just say yes to every single opportunity that presents itself. And I say that to everybody because I am living proof of what that can do. So as I said, I was a real estate agent up in Darwin, kicked the 100, got thrown into this world that I knew nothing about in terms of TV and radio. Worked out very, very quickly that I had a massive passion for that area, and there wasn't too many women working in the footy broadcasting space at the moment. There certainly was some, Caroline Wilson, Sam Lane. There's been some amazing ladies that have really helped kind of pave the way for other people coming through. But I identified that there wasn't too many, players. Yeah. Women's players that were involved, Daisy Pearce obviously as well, but that was an area that I really wanted to get into. As I said, I love footy, I know the game, I've played the game, and I was just hell-bent to making a career and to following that path. And every single opportunity that presented itself, I said yes to. I had to borrow money from my family. I had to borrow money from my sister. I had to, ask for $500 so that I could book a flight to come down to Melbourne to have a meeting with someone about an opportunity and get back to Darwin. I was living in Darwin at the time. I remember I don't think I've ever told anyone this. I remember getting home in Darwin. I'd bought a place out there, was struggling to pay my mortgage, but I got home and my power was off. God. Yeah. And God, it makes me teary here, but I'm like, I had to ring my mum and just be like, Mum, my power's off. And she's like, oh, just come home, come to Mum's living up there. And I'm like, God, it's all of these things that people don't actually realize is how much that you do put into growing and following a pathway and chasing opportunities. So I'm living proof that if you do that, then you can end up somewhere pretty special.
Jeez Louise, that would have been a rude awakening getting home.
Especially in Darwin when it's a million degrees.
The AC would be the first thing.
So Mum's like, oh shit, come home, darling.
please, just go over to a nice, cool house. It's crazy, and I want to go back to the commentating side of things. Like, you have some amazing people who have kind of helped mentor yourself. You know, you talk about the Hamishes, you talk about BTs and all that. Like, you know, who's been the most influential from that aspect? Because I think a lot of people see, you know, females in commentating, it's quite new. Like, there's not as many people in that, you know, industry, I feel like, that are doing what you're doing. It's really you and Daisy are the two that really come to mind. You know, early days, was there anyone that kind of was like a mentor in your sense that helped you kind of be able to guide you in the right direction and give you advice along the way?
100% Gary O'Keefe, who's the executive producer of the AFL at 7. He gave me my first opportunity in the VFL with 7, you know, putting a really green, how old was I then, like 25-year-old or 24-year-old on screen in live television.
We'll see how this goes.
Oh, my, yeah, exactly right. Let's see how this goes. Jace Bennett, Nigel Carmody, Campbell Brown are the VFL call team, and they've been unbelievable for my development as well in those early years. But I remember Gaz would ring me after every broadcast and just say, Abs, like, you did this really well, perhaps work on this, don't do that. You know?
Anything that sticks out? Is this just like, please do not go deer in the headlights first interview?
No. But, you know, he's been so critical for me in terms of my growth and development and confidence, in all honesty. Like, he's really, I guess, taken an interest in my development and continued to kind of work with me along the journey as well. And I certainly wouldn't be here, you know, where I am today without the guidance and support from him. You know, Glennie Postel, Dan Edwards, there's so many amazing producers at 7 which ultimately make us look good, if you know what I mean. But yeah, on screen, as I said, like Hamish, particularly last year for me with the Com Games, it was my first kind of big, you know, global kind of hosting opportunity, and he was awesome in the lead into that, and just saying, Abs, like, don't do too much, because I'm a crammer. Like, I was just cramming everything. I was like, whoa, like, just chill out. BT, like, even, Richo, Hodgie this year, like, they've just been so good in my confidence as well, you know, hosting that first leg on a Friday night. And, look, I could sit here and name them all, to be honest. Like, I'm so lucky and so grateful to be surrounded and supported by so many amazing people who legitimately just want to see you succeed and do well. So very, very lucky girl.
Incredible people. I've got to ask this. How's the diet for some of these people behind the scenes? I've been told there's some Maccas rolling around every game day. And
lots of Nazi gorings in there.
Lots of Nazi gorings. Those are the go-tos.
Yeah. Okay. At Marvel, there's the old Nazi goring. At the G, it's pretty good. We get fed quite well at the G.
Fish and chips ups in there?
No, that's like a nice little, maybe like even a little lamb curry or something.
Sorry, what?
Yeah,
Jeez, MCG, bougie.
Yes, exactly. Very bougie there. But no, look, I think you can sometimes fall into the trap when you're working late nights, early mornings, you know, big hours. You can sometimes fall into the caffeine and sugar.
Coffee's got
the coffees, yeah. So we try and steer clear of that, but sometimes that's just what you got to do.
We'll go into women in sport and commentating specifically. Now, yourself, Daisy Pearce, Erin Phillips are kind of like the three. I feel like they've really transitioned from AFLW to being in media, whether it be radio, whether it be TV, whatever it is. Can you talk on, I guess, like, do y'all have a bit of a club kind of thing? I feel like the three of you are very similar in your drive to want to be successful and things like that. Like, Daisy's amazing. Erin probably doesn't do as much as Daisy and yourself, but she's doing her radio gig and stuff like that. It's amazing to see how AFLW has been able to give you opportunities to be able to do something bigger in the next step, if that makes sense. Like, can you speak to that? Biggest
supporters of females and, you know, women in this space, and particularly working alongside Daisy and Erin. Like, they are two of the best to ever, you know, play the game from the AFLW perspective, but also their footy brains. Male or female, two of the best analysts that there are. You know, both of them have taken different pathways this year and have landed in clubland. So Daisy, obviously, with Geelong and Erin at Port Adelaide. So they're certainly not doing as much commentary as they did, you know, previously, but that is because they're still heavily entrenched in clubland now. So, but, you know, I feel so lucky and so grateful to have those two as well, that Daisy in particular, because we've kind of been on this journey together for quite a long time now. she would always just send me a text and say, hey, did you want to catch up for a coffee and chat through, this weekend or whatever it might be at that point in time, just to know that if I ever needed her or needed her, expertise or opinions or whatever, that I could just pick up the phone, give her a call or send her a text, and she'd get back to me, and vice versa. It's been really nice to be on that journey with them, but also to see those two in their own right go about their successes.
Yeah.
And Daisy to win a flag. Obviously, cool. Season 7 of the AFLW, there's nobody that deserved it more than Daisy Pearce. And to go out, in terms of retirement on that front foot.
It's like Joel Selwood-esque, I feel
absolutely,
like.
Absolutely. So Daisy, and Erin, they're two incredible people who ultimately can do no wrong. You know what I mean? They can do whatever they want to do in the future, and that's because they've worked so hard at their craft. And I'm excited to see what their journeys look like in the next 10, 20, 30 years time.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. I think there's gonna be a lot more opportunities for females in sports.
Well, I honestly believe that Daisy Pearce could be the first, female coach of the men's competition.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting, the whole debacle of her being in rooms earlier in the year.
It is the biggest.
The stupidest shit.
I can't believe it.
Oh, it was wild. It is what it is. Every club's different in their own way. To me, it was it's not like she's in the team meeting room, where they're giving the address, she's sitting at the door, just hanging out.
Exactly right. And post-match, for Daisy Pearce to be in the rooms when all they're doing is going and talking to their friends and their family, they're not highlighting anything, overly strategic or anything. But anywho, that's a whole nother conversation. And as I said, Daisy Pearce, she honestly, in my opinion, could be the first head coach as a female of the AFL men's competition. And if she wants to pursue that, I'll back her in every day of the week.
Oh yeah, love that. Feedback.
Yeah.
You've been given much feedback, let's say not from Channel 7, because we all know it's going to be super positive, but how have you handled, I guess, obviously not everyone loves change, right?
Yeah.
And, females in sport, unfortunately, it probably leads to some criticism from people all over, right? How have you kind of dealt with that? Because it was probably something you probably didn't have to deal with throughout a lot of your time.
Yeah.
And then once you get to the TV prime time and stuff like that, you get all eyes on you, and people will say anything and everything out there, right?
Yeah.
Social media is a hell of a thing. It's a wild thing out there. It's the wild, wild west. How have you kind of I guess from a mental health standpoint, dealt with, whether it be criticism, ups, downs, the all arounds that come with, being out in the media more?
It's been really challenging. But over the last few years in particular, I've been so proud to see a drastic change in that area. And I think we owe a lot of that to the AFLW competition now heading into season 8. So it's now been around for a little while. The old dinosaurs and, old fuddy-duddies who didn't think women belong in football might have had their opinions changed over the last 7 years, which is awesome. You know what I mean? But early days it was tough because there were still those people who had that belief that women didn't belong in footy, and everything that I said wasn't good enough for them.
Yeah, didn't matter what you said.
Didn't matter what I said. It was never going to be good enough for them. But for me personally, my family, my mum, my dad, my sister, Keegan as well, have been the biggest supports for me because it can be a pretty nasty place, and you can – it's easier said than done for people to say, just don't read it. Just don't look at it. Don't look at the tweets. Don't look at the comments on Instagram. Don't look at these things. But at the end of the day, they're right there in front of you. They're in the palm of your hand.
They're dinging on your phone.
They're dinging. You get a notification about everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think just making sure that you've got that positive support network around you first and foremost, but you're also very clear about who you are as a person. I think that's so critical. I know that I came into this landscape when there wasn't too many, women in that space, but that's also something that I'm very proud of, because hopefully other women in 5, 10, 20 years' time, they never have to deal with that. You know what I mean? So you're kind of paving the way for other females to enter that space and to not have to put up with that. So if it's something that I needed to cop for a few years, then I'm totally willing to do that in order for other generations to never have to deal with that in their life.
I think we got the title of the pod, Abbey Holmes, the trailblazer that is. We'll go into, I want to ask this also, because I know we both are very passionate about an Indigenous community.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things is to see you up in the NT doing a bit of, TV up there and reporting. Talk to us about, I guess, your connection back to community up there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've played football up in the NT with the Waratahs, kicked the 100 goals, as you mentioned. That's been covered, let's just say, a few times, right? Yes. And it's a hell of an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yeah, talk about like that connection. I want to dive deeper into, I guess more of who you are and why you feel so connected to it. I know we've talked about it, and you've got the sister that lives in Gove Peninsula. I just went to Groot Island, which is like next door, which people wouldn't even know where that is in Australia.
Yeah.
But talk about, I guess, like your connection back to the land, back to the people up there, and just kind of, what it means to you.
I think I honestly owe everything that I have today to my time in the Northern Territory and the opportunities that presented from that incredible place. I moved up there as a 21-year-old. I had never been to Darwin. I did not know a single person up there before I decided to make the move. And I was moving up there for a boy at the time. Yeah. So my boyfriend was, moving up to play footy.
Not Keegan. Keegan's the fiance. We love Keegan. Big fan of Keegan.
Yes. No. So he was moving up to play footy in the NTFL season and was originally just going to do the 6 months and then head back to Adelaide. But as most blokes do, fell in love with the place and didn't want to leave. That's right. So as a 21-year-old girl, I packed up my entire life. I'd never lived out of home, never stood on my own 2 feet. And I went to my dad and my mum and I said, hey, I'm moving to Darwin. Any father's worst nightmare for a boy. But honestly, I look at that moment, once again, going back to sliding doors moments. If I didn't have the guts as a 21-year-old girl, never lived out of home, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't have the guts to make that move, I would not be here today speaking to you inside this incredible little podcast studio.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But anywho, the Northern Territory, I was fortunate enough up there that's where I really delved into the footy landscape and started playing competitively. When the AFLW had happened, I was working with the AFLNT and was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time out in remote Indigenous communities.
Do you have a favourite? I love this.
So my favourite, well, obviously the Tiwi Islands is up there, but my sister lives out in East Arnhem Land, and
this is like proper outback,
proper middle of nowhere, right? But Yirrkala,
electricity or
yes, there's electricity. Yirrkala is hands down one of my favourite communities in the country.
Yeah,
it is so beautiful. The people are amazing. Just so much culture, you know what I mean?
What's unique about it? Because I feel like people in Australia, like they haven't really experienced the real like community that's away from the towns of Darwin and towns of Alice Springs and stuff like that. Like this is proper
this is culture and history and this is 65,000 years worth of culture, you know what I mean? And we're so fortunate to live in a country where there are still people who live in community who have their traditional ways. To go there and experience it firsthand, it's one of my favourite things to do. And so I actually was lucky enough to film a TV show called Into the Outback with Abbey many, many years ago, and we went to a lot of remote places in the Territory, and to this day, some of the best people you'll ever meet. Backyard Bandits, which was, as you said.
Check them out on Insta.
Yeah. So
some of the best videos on Backyard Bandits. I'm throwing it out there.
Thank you.
Some of the OG stuff.
But that's, I'm heavily entrenched in the travel and tourism space as well now, and Backyard Bandits was a campaign created. It was born out of, I guess, the frustration that there's so many Australians out there who have spent thousands travelling the world. They've spent thousands going to the States and all of Europe, which is wonderful, don't get me wrong, but they haven't actually experienced the real Australia. They haven't been out and seen red dirt or an Indigenous community or fully immersed themselves in the history and culture that is Australia. And that's one of my favourite things to do. So Backyard Bandits was born just trying to promote this to other Australians, was to go just get a map, blindfold yourself and put your finger on a map and go there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yes, very, very passionate about the Northern Territory and domestic travel and tourism as a whole, really.
Now these jet skis, you threw 2 jet skis, was it? On the back of this ute.
One, yeah.
Sorry, a jet ski on the back of a ute, and you took it through the desert. of Australia. Please tell this story.
Oh my goodness.
How this came about, because that was some effort.
We got some funny looks.
Yes.
So Backyard Bandits, we started in Adelaide. We went Red Centre, so Uluru, Kings Canyon, Alice Springs, all the way up to the top end, Darwin, Kakadu, Litchfield, and then the whole west coast of Australia, top to bottom. But we had a Toyota towing a jet ski and then a 6-berth motorhome on the road with us. And my goodness, some of the comments and the looks that we got towing a jet ski through the Australian Outback was priceless.
Was it worth it?
Yeah. Once you got to
best place to use the jet ski. What do you got?
Oh, Coral Bay.
Oh.
Yeah.
How good.
Yeah. Oh my God. That whole coral coast of WA is next level. So
Nigaloo Reef?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah. Oh, unreal.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite place in Australia? Because we'll talk a little bit about it, but like I know I've got a few other things I want to kind of get through, but travel is your jam.
Yeah.
Like 101. I want to just, I'm throwing this out there. Channel 7, whoever's listening can figure it out. Travel show. Myself and Abby will just we'll show people the true Australia.
We absolutely will. East Arnhem, one of my favorite places in the country. But also, that far northwest of WA is pretty beautiful as well. Lake Argyle have you been there?
I haven't.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
You see photos of it and it looks fake, right? Yeah. And you go there and it still looks fake and you're like, oh, what do you mean this is real? So we are very, very fortunate to live in such an incredible country with so many beautiful places, and I highly recommend everybody to just hit the road and go and see them. Number
one place right now, if you could book a ticket anywhere in the world, not just Australia, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have just booked to go over to the States.
Nah, that place is terrible. Next.
No, but look, we're going to go to Miami and go on a cruise through the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think Mexico, the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Sounds like a tough life.
Yes.
Now, this is after you work your ass off doing AFLW and AFL.
You think about it, right? You guys start in March.
Yeah.
I don't have a weekend off until December.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
You don't get a bye week. We talked about this before. Now we need to leverage Channel 7 to get you a bye week.
Yes. No. So men starts March, crosses over with women's in August, and then women's grand final is that first weekend of December. So it's a very, very long year, and I think I've earned my cruise from Miami.
You've well and truly earned it. It's phenomenal how you fit in. Now I want to go back. We'll rewind all this. We'll put in a little audio. I want to go back to the football side, because you are not originally a football player.
No.
You were a netballer.
Yeah.
Big fan of netball. And then you had some knee injuries, and then that led you to, obviously you moved to Northern Territory with the non-Keegan.
Yes.
But we got to Keegan eventually.
We did.
And then you kind of get into the Wartall Football Club.
Yeah.
Now, we both have a little bit of a connection to the Wartalls. The old Talls.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Talls up there.
Shout out to the Talls.
How was that? Like, that was like, we talk about like football, right? And the bare bones of what football is, and it's like bringing community together. And I think that, in what I've heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was kind of the one thing that you got from that club, right? We talk about local football clubs. People love their local football clubs, and they meet their friends, they make their connections through the football clubs, and that's the beauty of sport.
Yeah.
Like, was that what your experience in the Wartalls was?
Absolutely. And that, once again, comes back to moving to a foreign place as a 21-year-old, right? The first thing I did when I got to Darwin was find a netball club, because at that point in time, netball was my entire life.
Yeah.
The girls that I played netball with up in Darwin also played footy in the off season, because up there, those sports don't clash. Like down south, netball and footy are winter sports, so you've got to pick one.
Yeah.
Whereas up there, you play netball from March through September and footy September through March.
Yeah.
So it was those girls that convinced me to go out to Waratahs and have a kick. Yeah. And, you know, history, obviously the best thing I ever did, but you meet incredible people that very quickly become your family when you're so far away from your family, early days. But yeah, so kind of landed at the Waratah Footy Club, was very, very fortunate to join a super strong team of incredible athletes, and we were basically unstoppable. So played footy up there for 4 years, won 4 flags, kicked to the 100, as you said, in that second year. 105 off 14. No, just kidding.
Wow.
No.
Hey, it's a hell of a accomplishment.
That just rolls off the tongue
I'm happy with
these days.
1 goal a game, much less the 7 or 8 you're kicking a week.
But yeah, like it does. Like we just had this incredible family at the Waratah Footy Club, and still to this day have great connections with the people that I played footy with. So yeah, it was an absolute dream.
I went up there, I think it was about 2 years ago, and I trained with him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that happened. I just like, I'm sure you would have experienced this, but like as a kid growing up, right, a thunderstorm rolls in, game's canceled, right? You go home. They don't give a shit.
No. So some of the conditions.
There was lightning, thunder, everything. No one even batted an eye.
Cyclones.
Yes.
So the amount of times that we played in cyclonic conditions, I'm talking horizontal rain.
Just Williamstown type deal.
Yeah, exactly. Burbank. But like wind that it's basically knocking you over.
Yeah.
Lightning is where they start to call them off because
I didn't get that experience at all. No.
Okay. Well,
training was too important that
training,
day.
yes. Yeah. No, training, they'll train to do that. Don't worry about that. But yeah, some of the conditions up there are relentless, plus the heat as well. Yes. So game days are quite often 36, 37 degrees and 100% humidity. So they breed them tough in the territory.
They breed real tough. Real tough. Yeah. Did you ever have to play in a cyclone?
No. But close to it in terms of conditions. I remember playing a game of footy up there where, I kid you not, the water was up to my calf.
What?
Yeah. So on
the field.
Yeah. So drainage up in the territory grounds is actually quite good, but it gives you the context of how much rain can fall and very, very quickly in the territory.
You're swimming. Like
you're basically swimming.
You're training with the little ankle weights that old women wear around whenever they walk.
But you may as well have been.
That's so good.
Yes, as I said, it takes a special kind of athlete to play footy in the territory, from the heat to the rain to everything that comes with it.
Once I'm done, I might play for the Tars.
Well, Keeks is very much so on that.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Imagine you two lining up together.
Big 1-2 punch. Big Keeks and Coxie.
I feel sorry for any ruckman that comes up against that combination in the NTFL.
More Keeks than me. No, it'd be a crime, very emotional thing between us that we have a connection, and it'd be a crime not to say it. Big Rooch.
Yeah.
We both saw his parents. This is to give people context. I'll let you actually talk about it if you want, but Rooch was a friend of ours that had recently passed away, and I'll let you kind of, I guess, explain the connection behind it and what exactly happened.
So we just had the 3-year anniversary of Rooch's passing. I actually spoke to Jill, his mum, yesterday because we are going to head to the States and go over to New York in the lead into Christmas, which would be amazing to see them. But Rooch, he's quite hard to describe as a person. Impossible. Because he is just one of the, if not probably the greatest human being that one could ever meet, just in the way that he approached and attacked life, right? He was gigantic. What was he, like 6'7", 6'8"?
He'd be sitting at 120 plus kilos.
120 plus kilos, but an Adonis, right? And I remember the first time I ever laid eyes on this guy, right? He was playing at South Adelaide in the reserves. I was there watching Keeks, who played league.
Yeah.
The reserves boys were all, just wrapping up showers and coming up to the stands, getting ready to watch the league boys play.
Yeah.
And they're all rolling in with like buckets of chips and pies and pasties and steak sandwiches, right? And then I see this massive dude just roll in, right? And he plonked himself right in front of me.
He's a thick man.
And he basically took up 2 seats, okay? Yeah. And he pulled out of his bag the biggest Tupperware container I've ever seen in my life. And it was just full of rice and vegetables. Okay. And I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? Like everybody's eating steak sandwiches and like sausages and bread and like all the greasy goodness. And this guy he never put a bad thing in his body. It just pulled out that massive Tupperware, right? He used to eat, the 4 beans mix from the can. Used to eat a 4 beans mix before training.
Not even surprised.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he was just so healthy, so fit, so active, and just one of the greatest people in the history of people. So unfortunately, Rooch was killed, in a very bad accident. He was riding his bike and hit by a car.
Yeah.
Up in Darwin. I'll be forever grateful for the day that I spent with him in Darwin the week before, like exactly a week before that moment happened, because I took him out to Top End Safari Camp where this big dude from Dix Hills in New York was like hanging out with saltwater crocodiles and in and out of choppers and airboats, and he just had one of the best days of his life. So, yeah.
No, he's amazing. He's an American that was traveling around Australia, essentially playing AFL. He played from places from Southport to Carlton's VFL up to the Tars. He'd been all over the country and seen quite a bit. I'd seen him, or I'd talked to him, I think it was maybe a month before he passed, and he had sent me photos of him. They had, I think, captured a buffalo out in the NT, and they chopped it into quarters because it was too big to helicopter out. And he's going, these guys are fucking crazy up here, man. I was like, you're insane. Like, your New York friends would not believe this shit.
Honestly, and I was just, as I said, just had the 3-year anniversary, and I was going back and watching videos from that day with Rooch. And he's in a pool. And I said, would you ever get this in New York City? And he was like, never. Like, he was just living the dream. In Australia, and yes, one of the more tragic things that we've ever had to go through was losing him, and but now to have the relationship with his family over in America and still speak to them and catch up with them when we can, that's something that has come out of this, which I'm really grateful for them.
There's one man that's lived his life to its fullest. It's him. That's for sure.
And that's what I once again say to everybody, you've just got to make the most of every single opportunity and live the life to the absolute fullest, because you never know what's going to happen.
You're a walking testament of that. You're an absolute walking testament. We'll say one of your sliding doors moments. Now, EJ Whitten game, right? You go and you kick your 105 for the season, right? Just subtle brush it off your shoulder. Yep, I'm here. Shane Crawford gets you, writes the article on you, says, come play for my EJ Whitten team, right? You go out there, you just smash it. All these legends of the game ain't got shit on you, right? You're out there and you absolutely kill it. And then you go, AFLW, I'm essentially now one of the faces of AFLW. Was there a lot of stress and anxiety around that? Because there was the marquee players. You think of Mo Hope, you think of yourself. You think of these people who are just the image of trying to sell this product to Australians that AFLW is now here and here to stay. Was it a lot of pressure for yourself in those early days of AFLW?
It really was. I think because I was that chick who had, kicked 100 and was playing in the Legends games and and in the, the slowdowns in South Australia, there was a lot of pressure on me to perform coming into the AFLW. And, at that point in time as well, I'd been playing high-level netball from the age of kind of 13, 14 through 22, 23 when I moved to the Territory. Yeah. And my body was absolutely cooked. I've had 4 ops on my right knee. I'm bone on bone completely. I was very aerial. Lots about netball. So wing attack was my jam, the old general, the playmaker.
Yeah. Joints hurt thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly right. So kind of in my second year of AFLW, I certainly wasn't able to play and perform the way that I wanted to on a week in, week out basis. So that was a real big challenge for me. And ultimately why I kind of turned my focus to just the work side of it afterwards was just because I wasn't kind of living up to the expectation that I had on myself. So whilst I'm very thankful that I had something else to turn to, it certainly was hard during those years where everybody expects the world of you. There was quite a lot of pressure.
It's very hard mentally, I think, whenever your mind wants to do something, your body wants to do another thing. Yeah. And I feel like to have to go through that many surgeries and stuff, people don't see that, They just say, look, we're paying you to do this, you perform, right? Yeah. And I think there's so much that goes on behind the scenes of mental resilience and everything else to be able to get through those, come out, and then still be able to, do your job and be able to, be successful in it. Were there dark times after those kind of surgeries where maybe you're not in form, wherever it may be, and you're feeling the pressure of the outside coming in and you just feel like, just the world is on your shoulders? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what it's like when you're injured or, in a rehab group or whatever it might be like. It's a pretty lonely place because oh yeah, isn't it? Oh yeah. Because all the fun shit happens out on the park. Nobody really cares about those that are broken. So. Nope. We sit in the back in the sheds on the assault bike, just getting after it.
How bad is the assault bike? Oh my god. But yeah, you've got pressure and expectation on yourself that you expect, right? But then add on tenfold what everybody else expects from you, and they just need to Google your name to work out what you've done in the past. So yeah, it was high pressure, high stakes. But I grew up a diehard Adelaide supporter. Shatters me to say that, considering you just beat them by 2 points.
Did we? Was it yes? Yeah, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, 2 points. What was the game before? How'd we go? Was it 1 point?
Yeah, you led by 20 seconds. Anywho, right. So I was You've been in the
We move
on. But diehard Crow supporter growing up, right?
Yeah.
Footy mad family, like one-eyed Crow supporters. So to have the opportunity to be drafted to the club that you've loved and supported your entire life, pull on the Guernsey and represent them, plus win a flag in year one and forever be an inaugural AFLW Premiership player, that's been pretty crazy to even think about, and a whirlwind. Like, do you ever feel like I still feel like I'm 21 in my head, but
for sure,
my body says like 32. Mine
says like 70.
So you're like, I still feel like that was yesterday. Yeah. But I'm like, actually, that was a good, 7 years ago now. So, time flies. But so grateful for that opportunity, that experience, and the people that I was able to achieve that with.
Now, I hope to one day experience what you've experienced, but I want you to describe, after going through some of the hard times and the tough times, to be able to lift up the Premiership Cup. Like, what did that mean to you?
It's hard to put that into words as well, because going into that first season of AFLW, Adelaide's licence bid was a joint collaboration with the Northern Territory. So two places which had been such a huge part of my journey coming together as one. So I got to represent the both, which was amazing. Awesome. We had majority of the team, the list, based in Adelaide, and we had 9 girls based in Darwin that year one. So imagine Collingwood, right? Yeah, you've got 3/4 of your list down there at bloody the footy club.
Yeah.
And then you've got another quarter of the
3-hour flight away.
Yeah. So we got together on 2 occasions before round 1.
Yeah. 2 occasions.
2 occasions for like a little bit of a camp situation. Yeah. Everybody had us as wooden spooners purely because of that situation, because they're like, how the hell is that going to work, right? But to go through that season, make the grand final, and then win it at Metricon Stadium, like, oh my goodness, my sister and my mum had flown down from Darwin. My dad and my nana flew in from Adelaide. The group of girls, as I said, Beck Goddard, the coach, Andrew Hodges, who looked after us up in Darwin, like to have the ultimate success under those situations and that environment where we weren't always together. Like we Zoomed in and Skyped in for meetings and stuff. Like
pre-COVID.
Exactly right. But that's what made it all so special was that we had not one dickhead on that list. If we had one dickhead, that entire situation would have collapsed.
Yeah.
Right? So we just had the best group of people who completely and utterly bought into that situation, and ultimately that's what won us the flag.
Did you ever drink like a beer out of the cup?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Is that the first
And I don't even drink. But
I was about to say, I was like, I don't know you someone does a drink, but I mean, in that occasion, I feel like you got to live up to the experience, right?
You got to. And that was a rather large celebration after that one.
Give us a story.
No,
Give us something.
We're on the Gold Coast, right?
The Gold Coast.
So Beach? I don't even know. We were staying at the golf course, I think, right? Oh, do you know why I know that we were on a golf course?
What's that?
It was because I remember getting an Uber or something to Macca's, and then I ended up in a golf cart, and I was like Santa Claus, right? And I had all of these Macca's, and I'm just in a golf cart, just like throwing cheeseburgers, throwing my chickens, your spicy McNuggets or whatever you want.
Like Oprah.
Yeah. You get some French fries, and you get some French fries. That's how I remember where I was at a golf course, was because I was somehow in a golf buggy. But then we had to get up at like 5 a.m., fly back to Adelaide, and then do a lap of honour for the men's. For the men's game, so everyone had, there was a few
sunnies on.
There was. But no, it was the best. And that's such an incredible memory with, as I said, an amazing group of people. So very, very fortunate to be a part of that. Who was best on? That night?
Yeah, that night, not during the game.
Probably
we're talking the real stuff.
Jess Segeneri, Ange Foley, Erin Phillips once she gets
started the bus.
Yeah, let's just chuck her in there as well. It was awesome.
She would be a hoot of the time, I feel like.
We look at how much she's experienced in life.
Oh gosh, yeah. From playing in Dallas to now back here and like living out her life dream. It's like she would just be in heaven.
Honestly, and they've just had another baby as well. Congratulations to Tracy and Flip. But what she's achieved on and off the field, she is an inspiration.
She's an absolute legend, eh?
Yeah.
All right, we'll move into another thing I want to talk to you about because I'm wearing this jacket and this thing, I'm telling you, is the most comfortable shit I've ever worn in my life. I'm not, look, people, we've got some Mason Cox Show merch out and that's great. Go buy it. Don't get me wrong, but this shit is fucking on fire.
Do you know what's so funny is that I text you saying like, is it cool to just wear like shit kit as in, 100%. Active wear and nobody cares. But then you were like, I'm wearing my Blindside hoodie. And I was like, I'm so glad I just messaged you because I was wearing that.
When you were wearing this, you would have been matchy.
Yeah. So, and then you messaged me and said, I'm wearing that. So I changed. But
now, I'm going to try to describe this for most people. Now, I thought about it on the way over here. How do I describe how comfortable this is, right? Mm-hmm. I said it's like a Snuggie, but in a jumper.
Yeah.
Is that like a decent way to describe this? I don't know.
Yes.
The inside is so
it's like wearing a hug or a cloud.
I don't know where you're getting this stuff made. If there's some kids in a sweatshop somewhere sorting this. No, it's all ethically done, I'm sure. Yes. It's all above board. But seriously, guys, this is, I don't really wear stuff very often that, I wear consistently over and over, but you see me in this sweatshirt every single day.
Yeah, I'm so glad you like it.
It is legit.
You know that feeling of when you've had a really tough day, right? Might be playing footy, out in the cold, whatever, and that feeling of getting home, having a hot shower and then putting this on and not having to move for the rest of the night or the afternoon or the day. I'm
kind of the weirdo that doesn't wear a shirt under it too because it's so soft inside. This is getting weird.
I'm so glad you like it, first and foremost.
Yeah.
But Blindside, born off the back of getting blindsided twice in Survivor, of course, the name. I was like 5 days off $500,000, but that's fine.
Not salty at all.
Not salty at all. So we launched Blindside in February 2020, which was just before the world shut down, right? Just before
the old C word.
Yeah. COVID. Just before people couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
And then what we saw was obviously people at home, they wanted to be comfortable. People were doing their business work meetings with like blazers up top and then party down the bottom with trackies and Ugg boots.
Big fan of that.
So it was kind of fortuitous in the sense of when we launched, the world went into that unfortunate situation. So in terms of the timing, it was perfect. And it's just fun. Like it's a small business. Keegs and I obviously launched it, as I said, in 2020. We've had some help along the way with Ree, one of my really good mates who works in it as well. And yeah, I love it. Like I love the design and the creating side of it, but also got a great team with our manufacturer as well. So
you're going to be like a CEO on television. You're going to be so successful. You're going to be looking at this podcast and go, why the fuck did I do this interview?
No, never.
Now I've been wanting to ask this because on this podcast, we joke about it a lot. Braden and I are desperately single and you know this. You met your future husband, your fiance at the moment. Fiance on Bumble.
I did.
Any advice for us out there? Maybe some good prompts or something we should throw out there for the females?
Do you have Bumble?
I don't. I have Hinge. I've gone on the Hinge bandwagon and then another thing. But
do you know what? So funny story about Keeks and I, right? I was always adamant for some reason that I could never have any of the apps,
This is me.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Because you don't want to be that footy chick or that tall American dude that plays for Collingwood, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was always adamant that I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, from a professional side.
Yes. And then before my second pre-season at the Crows, I'd moved back to Adelaide from Darwin and I had to drive over to my Melbourne place to pick up a few things and I brought one of my best friends with me, Kim.
Yeah.
So I was driving over and then Kim, my friend, was like, Abs, like you always complain about being single, but you don't actually put yourself out there to meet anyone. Like I don't drink, I don't go out, I don't
You're too busy.
I like to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what I do.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to make you a Bumble account. And I was driving, so I was like, oh, well, I can't exactly do anything about it.
You're like, I don't have any control over this. So. Yeah,
and I was like, oh, as long as I get to like pick a photo. So she made the Bumble account and Keeks was my first ever Bumble date.
Ooh.
So I'm biggest advocate, 100% strike rate, one from one and done.
Maybe we need to download Bumble.
Yeah.
I think Braden's on Bumble. Braden's on about 20 different apps.
I'm fucking everything. Trying hard.
So Bumble, what's the go-to prompt answer, I think?
Well, do you know what?
Something like that.
So you know how with Bumble, like the female has to make the move?
Yes, of course.
No, you didn't know.
No, I didn't know that.
So Bumble, it's like, it's different because it's not like everyone can just go like, the female in that interaction has to make the first move. Yeah. So I think mine was like a little hand wave and that's it. Like I didn't really.
That's all you gave.
That's all I gave.
And that reeled Keeks in.
And it worked.
Keeks!
And it worked.
How good.
And then, we spoke for a little while. Our first date went for like 8 hours.
Wow, love that.
So, I set up a coffee at 3:30 because that's a great time. Because if it's going really pear-shaped, you can be like, oh, I've got dinner plans. I've got to get out of here and get out of here quick smart.
Yeah.
Or if it's going well, you're
That's
like,
experience.
right. Yeah.
That's experience.
Yeah, okay.
Taking notes.
Yeah. So 3:30 coffee date because
3:30 coffee
you can
dates,
get out or you can stay in.
Yeah.
Coffee finished, and then he was like, do you want to go to the movies? And I was like, yeah, it's next door. We went and saw Jumanji. Jumanji finished, and I was like, do you want to get dinner? And he was like, yeah. So we went back to where we had coffee and then had dinner, and then went and sat down at the beach at Glenelg in South Australia for a little while, literally 8 hours. And then ever since then have just been inseparable.
Yeah.
And he literally told me he loved me in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
He
met my family within a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge. So you knew.
We knew straight away. Yeah. And people used to say,
to people out there, he's the nicest guy I've ever met.
He's the best person ever, right? But you know how people always say, when you know, you at least
I'm
expect
waiting
it.
for that
Exactly.
experience.
Well, I used to be like, yeah, whatever, guys. And then I met Keegs and I was like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
So don't give in, don't give up.
Moral of the story, download Bumble. Just
download
put
Bumble.
a hand wave.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
that should reel enough in.
Yeah. Or if somebody ever, because they're going to have to like hand wave to you, then you have to be like, that's her. That's it. That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Shout out to Keegs though. Keegs
Shout out to Keegs. He's the biggest legend you'll ever meet. Last thing. You've done Survivor, SAS, you're on. Coming up, we can't we can't talk about it too much. I'm just going to ask you this. Did you get in a fight with someone? Did you have I think of the old rugby player fighting the AFLW player, and you didn't do that, did you?
There might be.
Oh, gosh.
There might be some of that. SAS.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
you're here. You got through it.
I'm so excited for you all to see SAS, which we don't exactly have an air date, but it is later in the year, whether it's September, October.
Yeah.
It is by far the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. And I've been fortunate to do a number of hard things, right? Survivor, I didn't shower or brush my teeth for 46 days. SAS, in terms of hardness, the hardest of hard. Yeah.
How long does it last?
You'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good. I almost got you.
Yeah. But, such an incredible experience. We filmed in the Middle East, so very, very different to what you've seen previously in Australian, or SAS Australia. The Middle East was brutal, next level. Think desert, soft sand running. Oh, my quads burn just even mentioning the word. But yeah, amazing experience, great group of people.
Yeah.
And can't wait for you to see it.
I want to ask you this. If you can make one challenge for television, one challenge that would push people to the absolute limits, what would it be?
What do you mean?
I'm talking claustrophobia. I'm talking heights. I'm talking speed and just putting them all in a big pot and mixing them together.
Heights is my thing.
Is that your thing?
No, I hate it.
Yeah, I hate heights too.
Yeah. So anything to do with heights is gonna really screw me over.
Okay.
And I'm sure it will screw over a lot of people.
So if you had to jump out of a helicopter, that would be your worst case scenario. I'm not saying you did it.
Yeah. No, that would be very, very bad for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think there's going to be a little bit of heights coming my way.
I figured there would be. I mean, like,
I don't know.
From my experience of watching these shows, I feel like heights is kind of something they weave into this every once in a while.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody's got a thing, right? And they kind of hit you from every direction in the SAS Australia environment just to kind of break you down. And it was very, very challenging. I can't give too much away.
That's very good by you.
You should do it.
I think I'm going to start with maybe The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
Hey, would you ever go on Batch?
Oh, for sure I would. Are you kidding me? That'd be awesome.
What would your pitch be? Give it to me.
A sales pitch?
Yeah.
There's not really much to sales pitch.
Describe yourself.
Describe myself.
Yeah. Pretend like we're on a speed date.
Ooh, a speed date.
Yeah.
7 foot tall American mechanical engineer that plays sport for a living, enjoys the outdoors and traveling, and just really wants to make a good connection with someone.
What do you look for in a female?
Oh, intelligence.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
Is that it?
Oh, intelligence, beautiful. You gotta have attraction, gotta have the attraction. Usually your friends.
I've tried a couple of times.
Oh, I'm kidding. We'll move on to the last thing before we get in trouble, because this has gone from a footy to a business to a dating segment.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We could go on and on, believe me. You've talked about this Barossa idea and getting a wedding venue down there, correct?
Yes, McLaren Vale. Yes.
McLaren Vale, sorry, apologies.
Yes.
Wrong winery region.
Yeah.
Big wine guy. Where's that at the moment?
It's still bubbling away in the background. Look, I'm the kind of person who is like I set myself a goal and I will put everything in place to achieve that goal.
100% you'll
achieve. Yeah. So
You're
that
persistent.
is Yeah, I'm very persistent. And look, that's something that is ultimately a big goal of ours.
Yeah.
And at the moment we probably kind of focus a little bit more on Victoria at this point in time. But we will long term be back home in South Australia. Once we kind of hopefully are able to have some children and start a family on that front. But our lives are very entrenched in Melbourne at the moment. So.
Oh, good. I want to ask this. I want to say what's next, but if you could do anything, right? You've got all these different, pieces that you're putting together at the moment, from commentating to traveling Australia and everything else. What would be your dream job? If you only could pick one, right? What would be your dream job?
Oh my goodness, that's a very hard question.
I feel like that's a pretty obvious question.
Yeah. Well, look, but I honestly, as I said to you, I feel like I have my dream job. Yeah, but there's obviously so much scope to improve and expand and that kind of thing. Yes, but I'm a sports nuffy. I love travel. I love people. Like being a real estate agent, crossing over into the media landscape. Like it is your job to build relationships and build rapport. And I feel like I've done that quite well in the footy sense. Like, as a player, like you must know that I'm a pretty trustworthy.
You're
like I'm
a trustworthy person. I'll have
chat.
A laugh with you on the sideline as I'm just acting like I'm doing something, jogging up and down the sideline.
I'm a good chat, right?
Is there anyone that's like a terrible interview you just stay away from?
There's a few, but everyone
name names. Just name a club.
No. Everyone's pretty good. But I feel like I've done, that really well over the last few years, is build that trust, the relationships and the rapport with players and coaches so that they do trust me.
Yeah.
That I'm not trying to put them in a tricky situation. I'm not trying to get them to say something silly or get a headline, because that's not what I'm about, right?
Yeah.
But anywho, I digress. My dream job, I'm doing it.
You're doing it. Okay.
But like travel, sport.
Cut out sport. What would your dream job be? Travel.
Oh, TV, love. Travel, tourism, TV, the dream.
The Mason Cox. And so we're going to go to the Abbey Holmes. I'm second to your fiddle.
No, you're not.
Abbey Holmes, Mason Cox travel show. We're throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to take it. I'm not going to say Channel 7's the only one out there. We're happy to do whoever wants.
But that would be a vibe, wouldn't it? We love our fishing.
It'd be
Do you know what? So I remember, funny story.
Best fish you ever caught. We're just raffling now.
No. Sorry about this. When I was filming a show up in East Arnhem Land, I caught a mackie, and we were filming it, and it like kicked and
just slapped
wiggled,
you in the face?
nearly, dropped it, took out a chunk of my guy's toe. Yeah. So funny.
Your guy's toe?
Yeah, the guy that I was interviewing, Trev. Yeah. Ooh. But funny things happen when I'm in front of a screen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It'd be a total vibe.
Chopped off the whole thing?
Nearly.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Caught a meter barrier yet?
No. Still haven't cracked a meter.
We got to do that.
Yeah.
One day we got to do it up in the NT.
I'm actually quite dirty on it, to be honest, that I haven't caught
one yet.
87.
87. Ooh, I got 92.
No, you did not just, really?
Yeah, just one up to you. I'll tell you a whole story about how I caught that thing. Oh, no. All right, we're waffling on with the Shaza. The Shaza. I was like looking back to my notes of the Shaza to make sure I'm saying it right. But we're going to finish there because we could keep going on and on. But I know you've got training. You got to go to the VFLW Hawthorn training right now. Yes. Shout out to them, by the way. And well done. I saw you kick the goal last week.
Oh, mate. First game in a very long time. I can hardly walk today.
Only got 104 more. You've got 104 more. But seriously, thank you so much for coming on. You're an absolute legend. I will get the carrot cake to you, I promise.
Please do.
But I appreciate you coming on. It is incredible what you're doing and what you're going to accomplish, because if there's anyone out there that sets a path to do something and gets it done, it's you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No worries. And we'll see you soon.